Hello students, so in this video we'll be discussing about the human male and female reproductive system from the chapter reproduction of class 10. So when we look at the human male reproductive system, there's the frontal view that I have drawn. In the NCERT book there is the side view, or we can say the lateral view. So in the frontal view, the primary reproductive organs of the human reproductive system are the testes. Testes are two lobular structures, and they are called the primary reproductive organs because it is from the testes that the sperms are produced. Actually, inside the testes is divided into some lobes, and inside these lobes the sperms are formed. Now, when the testes will be producing the sperms, from each testis a tubular or a tube arises, and this tube is called the vas deferens. So with the help of the vas deferens, the sperms are carried out from the testis. Both the vas deferens, they come and they join a common tube. This tube is called the urethra. The urethra is also called the urinogenital tract. The reason is that because the urethra will not only carry the sperm, but it is also through the urethra that the urine is removed from the urinary bladder. This is the urinary bladder. So from the urinary bladder, urine is removed or given out through the urethra, and that's why it is called urinogenital tract. Urino means urine, and genital is related with reproduction. So that is the common tube. Now this urethra, it is quite long in case of males, and this urethra is located inside a muscular organ, and that muscular organ is called the penis. This is the copulatory organ. Copulatory organ means the organ which is required to transfer the sperms during sexual intercourse or copulation. The technical term for sexual intercourse is copulation, copulation, copulation. So during copulation, the penis is made up of is richly supplied with vascular tissue. Vascular tissue means blood vessels. So during sexual intercourse or copulation, the penis gets richly filled with blood, which leads to erection of the penis. The tip of the penis is covered by a flexible fold of skin, which is called the prepuce. Actually, the prepuce can be considered vestigial in nature. It generally does not have any function. So in many small infants, what happens if the prepuce doesn't open properly? There is difficulty in passing of the urine, which leads to urinary tract infection. Very often it leads to urinary tract infection. Under such condition, the prepuce can be surgically removed. Now when the testes will produce the sperm has to flow, and that fluidity of the sperm is provided by a fluid which is secreted from the seminal vesicle and the prostate gland. So seminal vesicles are two glands which are present at the turn of the vas deferens, and the prostate gland lies at the junction of the urethra and the vas deferens. So these two glands, seminal vesicles and prostate gland, they will secrete a fluidic secretion, and that fluidic secretion along with the sperm, so we have fluid from seminal vesicle and prostate gland plus the sperms, it forms a viscous whitish secretion which is called the semen. So in a single ejaculation means at a single go, around 5 to 10 ml of semen is ejected, which contains around 300 sperms. So that is the function of seminal vesicle and prostate gland. This fluid which will be secreted from seminal vesicle and prostate gland, it will not only provide a fluidic medium for the sperms to flow, but it will also provide nutrition to the sperms, because the sperms while swimming, they'll need energy, and that energy will come from the fluid present in or secreted from these two glands. So one more thing is that the testes hang outside the pelvic cavity in a sac-like structure, and the sac-like structure is called the scrotum. The reason is that for optimum production of sperm, the temperature of the testes should be little less than the body temperature. So during summer, what happens when the body temperature is too high? The scrotal walls become loose and the testes hang more outside the body. During winter, when the outside temperature falls, then the scrotal walls will shrink and they will pull the testes towards the pelvic cavity. So that is about scrotum. So this is the overall structure of the human male reproductive system. Now let us discuss about the structure of the sperm. So you can imagine if 5 to 10 ml of semen contains around 300 million sperms, so how minute the sperms can be. Rather, they are very, very small cells. So a typical sperm, it consists of the head region, a neck portion and a tail portion. The tail is a modified flagella which helps the sperm to swim. The head region contains the male nucleus which will carry forward the characteristic of the father to the next generation. And on the tip, at the tip region of the sperm, there is a cell organelle which is called acrosome. Acrosome is actually a modified lysosome, you can say. It contains digestive enzymes, so that when the sperm will come in contact with the egg, the membrane of the egg can be dissolved by the digestive enzymes present in the acrosome. And for swimming, the sperm will need energy, and energy is generated by mitochondria. So in the neck portion, the sperm has a very big spiral mitochondria. So this is the overall structure of a sperm. Next we'll be discussing about the reproductive system of human female. So in case of human female, so here the primary reproductive organs are the ovary. Each ovary is in the size of a peanut with the cover. So approximately this much big is the size of a typical ovary. So the female has two ovaries, and it is from the ovary that the egg or the ovum will be formed. So this is the primary reproductive organ. Now above the ovary, above each ovary, there is a funnel shaped structure. These finger like projections are called fimbrae, 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 which leads into two tubes. These two tubes, this is the frontal view of the female reproductive system. So these two tubes are called the oviduct or the fallopian tube. When the egg will be released from the ovary, it is through this tube that the egg will travel. Now both the fallopian tube or oviduct, they open into a vase like structure. So there, suppose you imagine a flower vase. So there are two tubes which are opening into that. So this vase like structure, this is called the uterus. So uterus is commonly what we call as womb. It is inside this uterus that all of us have spent 9 months of our lifetime in the beginning. So all fetus or all baby, they actually develop inside this uterus. So it is a very muscular structure, and this uterus, it has a narrow opening below, and this narrow opening is called the cervix, which leads into a wider tubular portion which is called the vagina. The vagina receives the male reproductive part, that is the penis, during copulation, and the sperms are deposited here. Now generally the opening of the vagina is covered with a partial or is covered with a membranous structure which acts as a partial closing structure. So in this portion there will be a partial closure, not complete closure, with a membranous structure, and this membranous structure is called hymen. Now this hymen may get ruptured due to different physical activity like running, dancing, swimming, whatsoever, or naturally also the hymen during the menstrual cycle or whatsoever, it may get ruptured. So the hymen does not have any specific function. It can also be considered as vestigial, just like the prepuce in case of human male penis. Okay, so this is the overall structure. Now in case of male reproductive system, we have seen that the urethra, through the urethra, both sperm and your urine gets ejected. So it's a common pathway, urinogenital tract. But in case of female reproductive system, if we see, there is no urinary bladder here and no urethra. So where does the urethra opens? Through which structure actually the female gives out the urine? So that we can better understand if we see the lateral or the side view of the human female reproductive system. So if this is the uterus, this is the side view, the urinary bladder lies on top and they have a very small urethra, and the urethra open just on top of the vagina. So approximately in this portion you have the opening of the urethra. So it is through this portion that the urine is given out. So there is no link between the chamber where the fetus will develop or the baby will develop and the passageway through which the urine will come out. So actually these are two separate openings, the cervix and the opening of the urethra, and they open into a common passage, and that common passage is the vagina. So this is the overall structure of the human female reproductive system. So in the next video we'll be discussing when the egg is released and what happens to the egg or the ovum when it is released from the ovary. Thank you.